Greetings, I'm Demonac. I've only seen one of the Fantastic Four movies, but I'm going to talk about them anyway, because this appears to be a vlog. So I saw the 2005 Fantastic Four movie. That's the first of them, not counting the one before that that was made just to retain the rights, as opposed to the more recent ones, which was made just to maintain the rights. Basically just Fox blocking everyone. They've done some different things. I know the most recent one was received horribly. Well, guess what? The middle one was received horribly, and the first one received horribly. They just haven't made anything remotely decent. And I'm not saying it's easy to make a Fantastic Four movie. I'm just saying the one that I saw, the 2005 one, I think they had sort of the right idea in terms of the tone. And the tone has to be, here's a bunch of people with superpowers, they have sort of family relations, they get into arguments, but they have superpowers, it's supposed to be fun, it's colorful. That is what you have to do with them. If you take them and try and make them grittier, it's not going to work. And I think that's probably a lot of what sabotaged the most recent one. You can't really go any sillier than that first movie. In fact, I usually, anytime there's something like that where it's supposed to be funny, but it's got like a core where there's supposed to be a story or something, I always want it to be a little bit more serious than it is. That's how I see Darkwing Duck. I want Darkwing Duck. It's like, that was a pretty okay show. And I liked the humor, but they needed to take the story a little bit more seriously. So that's where I'm coming from. But I don't know the Fantastic Four that well from comics. Again, I absorb all this comic book stuff from like one dimension removed. When it comes to comic book stuff, I figure I probably know more than 95% of the population, but the 5% who know more than me know way more than me, because I haven't actually read that many comics. I just learn about them through all these other media stuff, and I do care and I find them interesting. I do not have the comic trivia, like, at all, but I have a great general knowledge of, hey, these are some characters from comics. I've seen them in the cartoons, and I've learned more about them and stuff. But the Fantastic Four don't seem to have a really strong catalog of good movie villains. You really, if you want to make a superhero movie, you gotta have good villains. You can make good movies that don't have good villains, like Iron Man 1, but it's so much easier to build a universe and go forward and make something that's just gonna have good pacing and be enjoyable all the way through and not get overburdened with fluky sort of dumb story mechanics that neither the comics people nor regular audiences like. If you want to avoid all those problems, you kind of need a better catalog of villains. Again, like Batman has a great catalog of villains. You can take them. There are different ways you can do approaches on them, but he has lots to choose from that are commonly known and popular. The Fantastic Four have Doctor Doom, who is amazing. I mean, they have done a horrible job of him in the movies and stuff, but you can totally work with him because he rocks. But beyond that, they have a lot of these mega cosmic villains that they fight. They fight against these things that are sometimes planetary threats, often more than planetary threats. They're like threatening the galaxy or the universe or whatever, and that's the kind of guys that the Fantastic Four often ends up fighting against. You can't just open with that. It doesn't work very well. You kind of need to build to your planet-level, galaxy-level threats. They don't have a lot of those good mid-range sort of villains. Like, Spider-Man fights a ton of guys who are basically just thugs with superpowers, who are in some way more powerful than him, or in some way dangerous to him. But he overcomes them because he's smarter, and he's much more versatile. Mostly smarter. The Fantastic Four don't have a lot of those guys in that middle range to fight. And also, we've seen their origin a bunch, and their original origin is kind of goofy. And actually, from all the stuff I heard about the new movie, I thought it's not a bad idea to try and modernize their origin. Like, get rid of the cosmic rays thing. It raises a lot of questions. Like, cosmic rays could make sense, but if you want them to go out in space so far that the cosmic ray environment is going to, like, do radical things to them, and then bring them back safely, and there's just all kinds of issues with that. I kind of like the idea that they get their powers from an accident opening a portal to the negative zone, because the negative zone is a very Fantastic Four Reed Richards-y sort of thing. He discovered this parallel dimension. So the idea that he would open a portal to that, and that would cause some kind of bizarre messed ups, if it's another dimension, of course. Especially if it's not just that the portal worked and they went through and it got powers. If it's something goes wrong with the portal that results in this chain of events. There's a freak accident that gives them their powers. That works just fine. The problem is that it's less about the pitch. It is really heavily about execution. You have to have the right level of sort of humor in the dialogue and cheesiness in the dialogue. You have to be willing to let them go and do sort of crazy things and have crazy villains that they can fight. And you just have to do that comic book realism thing where you have to give nods to reality, nods to realistic physics and stuff like that whenever you can without messing up the story too much. It is a difficult balance, but mostly I think freaking just give them back to Marvel. Because they're really like, the Fantastic Four are fabric of the Marvel universe more than they actually need to exist as a thing on their own. They need to have like at least one decent movie done by Marvel, and then they can be tied into all the great Marvel events and things will just be better.